Effect commands offer a lot of control over instruments, and this series has presented the major uses for each one, hopefully inspiring you to experiment with them in your audio projects. However, there are some non-obvious but useful quirks worth highlighting, either a specific application of techniques or combos where different effect commands interact. This video is going to be presented a bit looser than the others, and I won't be explaining everything as I go, since I'm going to assume you're already familiar with what's being discussed. Something which is not that obvious is that Retrigger doesn't just repeat the audio. It actually plays new notes. This means samples are affected by the new note action, which allows you to set up some interesting effects by either continuing to play the retriggered notes or by activating note-off events. This can also have implications if you're using the velocity tracker, since the new notes will be retriggered with any associated velocity value. The way that the RX command actually works is that it retriggers from the start of the latest OS ruler slice that was reached by the sample playback. So, repeated RXs will keep playback advancing forward. Unless there hasn't been enough time between each retrigger for the next slice to have been reached. This usually only occurs with low RX values, but can also present itself with lower pitched notes, fast tempos, or longer waveforms. In part 5 of this series, we looked at the cut command, Cxy. But there's a difference between this and the Cx version used in the volume or panning column. Cxy can be used continuously and never actually stops playback of the instrument. But Cx does stop instrument playback, though crucially, it doesn't trigger note-off events. So this can be an option to provide some variety when silencing something after a short amount of time. What if you want to trigger a note off really quickly though? But you can't, because a note and a note off obviously cannot be on the same line. Well, try triggering the note late on the previous line by using the delay column. Delaying like this before the proper note also allows you to do neat little introductions, usually with the backwards and pitch commands. And this demonstration leads into an important point. Delayed effect commands that perform over a period of time will only perform up to the end of that line. For example, this means that a pitch command won't be able to slide all the way to its intended destination. There are two exceptions to this though. The first is that once the retrigger command is up and running, it won't be stopped. The second is the use of these commands in the volume and panning columns. In both of these cases, the effect does not stop performing when the next line is reached, and in fact bleeds through into the next line. Specifically with retriggering, a high enough delay value can actually cause it to overwrite the playback of a new note. Kind of. The new note was still activated, and so will be used for the next retrigger. The other thing that happens is that any changes to the audio that haven't bled through into the next line will also be overwritten by the retrigger. So this presents an opportunity to craft something that wouldn't normally be possible. The nature of the SXX command makes it good for combining with others, and there's two in particular that are worth demonstrating. With the backwards command, samples can be reversed from a specific point. If a sample has been sliced, it will be triggered as you'd normally expect. However, without slices, the value is counted from the end of the sample. And secondly, this also works in a three-way combo with ZXX to reverse a phrase from a specific line. You can also combine ZXX with the Y00 mutually exclusive maybe command to randomly select from some phrases. The trick here is to use the volume or panning column for the probabilities instead of the local effects column, which leaves that open for inserting the phrase selection commands. Okay, let's finish up by getting our hands dirty with this messy technique of microtonal pitching. This is done by combining an instant glide command, GF, with U or D. But the glide must be placed to the left of the pitch slide, so that it is triggered first. Now the note will instantly pitch itself up or down by a very small amount controlled by the value. And you don't need a preceding note to glide from, like you normally do with this command. This is kind of hacky though, and the amount that the pitch changes will be affected by the song's ticks per line value.